Heartwarming discovery: poor girl sent on a blind date uncovers incredible love with CEO dad. Emily paced back and forth in her tiny apartment, her heart hammering in her chest. The flicker of the overhead light matched the nervous energy sparking within her. Blind date? With a CEO? Her best friend, Amanda, had practically shoved her into it, insisting it would be fun. But Emily felt the weight of her mother's sacrifices as she smoothed down her thrifted dress, a second-hand gem from Goodwill that fit only because she had tightened it with a safety pin. Still, she acknowledged the rare chance to step into a fancy restaurant where she'd usually just be a spectator. As she stepped into the bustling establishment, the chill air rushed against her skin, a stark contrast to the simmering warmth of her childhood memories. The laughter of well-dressed patrons danced around her, and anxiety rumbled in her belly. For a moment, it all felt like a dream, one where she no longer had to share small servings of instant ramen with her mother. She was jolted from her thoughts by a sharp yet familiar gaze from across the room, and there he was. Jonathan. Tall, charismatic, clad in a tailored suit that captured the glints of the chandelier's light. She felt as though the ground shifted beneath her. There was something hauntingly familiar about him. Their eyes locked, a jolt of electricity passed between them, igniting an unexpected connection. It was the eyes. They spoke of family, of unshared history, of so much left unsaid. As they greeted each other, Emily felt raw courage swelling within. Dinner started awkwardly, a volley of questions thrown like tennis balls back and forth, bumping against the tension in the air. His laughter rolled like a warm tide, but it was tinged with unfamiliarity. The blend of elegance in his demeanor clashed with the humble origins of her own life. She felt her heart twist in two different directions. "Your mom was my high school sweetheart, you know?" he mentioned casually, as if tossing away a paper airplane. The words hung thick and heavy in the air. She could only blink, feeling her heart race again. The unspoken stories rolled through her head, a faint outline of a father she had imagined and women she'd only heard whispers of. "Tell me about her," he encouraged, his fork poised between bites. Emily hesitated but slowly felt her mother's love rise within her. She spoke of the late nights, of the small victories and the love that bound them tightly, a mantra all their own. She could see the way Jonathan's face softened. It was as if she were pulling a curtain aside, revealing parts of a man who had lived without her. One last delicate thread connected them, and then came the shocking revelation that shattered her perception of him. He came from wealth, privilege, everything that she had resented for so long. Did he even know the value of $1? How could they possibly connect when their lives collided so painfully? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As they navigated revelations, laughter mingled with the tension of their worlds apart. Emily's heart swung wildly within her, like a pendulum caught between the past she knew and the future she dared to hope. Would she push away this potential bond, create a wall built from resentment, or could she rewrite their shared story, forgiving the past and looking towards a brighter future? The initial connection felt like sand slipping through clenched fingers. And before they even realized it, something broke, an unexpected twist that sent a tremor through their tentative bond, leaving Emily gasping for breath. All her loyalties, fears, and hopes crystallized into one painful question: would she embrace the possibility of love with a father she never knew, or would she choose the familiar stability of her mother's arms? Emily's thoughts swirled like leaves caught in a gust of wind. The fine dining room seemed to swallow her whole, the elegance of the surroundings sharp against the rawness of the moment. She couldn't believe that she was sitting across from Jonathan, a man who was not just a stranger, but a stranger with the weight of her mother's past hanging between them like a thick, invisible thread. "Emily?" His voice cut through her spiral of thoughts. He looked at her with an intensity that made her pulse quicken. "You okay?" She realized she hadn't responded. She tried to smile, but her mind was racing. Why had she never known him? Why had her mother kept this secret? Questions bubbled like boiling water, ready to overflow. I need a moment," she said, her voice barely a whisper. I understand, Jonathan replied, his expression softening. You've just uncovered a lot. How about we take a little break from the serious stuff? Grateful for the shift, Emily nodded. They returned to easy banter, exploring lighter topics, their favorite movies, bizarre food combinations, and the quirks of their hometowns. Laughter slowly replaced the tension, each shared moment a thread weaving their connection together. Yet, the specter of what they weren't discussing loomed ever larger. Even as they laughed, Emily was struck by how much she wanted to ask him about his life. About the father he clearly had been. You seem successful, she ventured cautiously. Jonathan chuckled, rubbing the back of his neck. That's a complicated question. His gaze turned contemplative, and for a moment, she could see the flicker of vulnerability behind his confident facade. It wasn't always easy. I had to fight my way through it. Emily's heart ached a little. She could relate. It felt wrong to amplify her life's struggles as a badge of honor, but perhaps their differences could forge understanding rather than drive them apart. I grew up watching my mom work 2 jobs just to make ends meet. I have a lot of respect for hard work. Your mom sounds incredible, he said, sincerity filling his voice. It must be been tough. It wasn't all bad, she replied, her eyes lighting up. We made it work. I learned a lot about resilience. Just then, the waitress arrived to refill their wine glasses, breaking the spell that had made time slip away unnoticed. Emily took a deep breath, sensing that they were teetering on the edge of something transformative. You know, he said, leaning forward, we might not be as different as we think. Maybe. Emily's heart raced. You've had a different life, Jonathan. You don't know what it's like to struggle for every cent. I might surprise you, he said softly, his words hung in the air between them like an invitation. Emily felt hesitant yet hopeful. What if beneath their contrasting lives lay common ground, shared experiences of longing for belonging? Just as she was about to respond, she felt the tremor of uncertainty again. Suddenly, her phone buzzed loudly on the table, shattering the moment. It was a text from her mother. Where are you? Is everything okay? Emily's heart sank. She was reminded of her mother's unwavering love and the aching worry that came with it. I need to respond to her. Of course, Jonathan said quickly, but his eyes betrayed his disappointment. As she typed a reply, Emily felt the distance creep back in. She was pulled again between 2 worlds, the comforting yet confining embrace of her mother and the unknown possibility of Jonathan, someone who might thinly bridge the gap of her past. With that small moment of connection lost, another question flickered in her mind. Would her mother accept the unexpected man across from her if they chose to explore the truth together? Emily looked back up at Jonathan. His gaze softened, openness radiating from him. Could they really navigate this tangled web they were caught in? Was the fear and resentment worth risking something beautiful? She took a deep breath, the weight of choice heavy on her shoulders. The moment felt like a turning point, a choice that could change everything. Okay, she said, her voice steadier than she felt. Can we talk about your life, the one I was never a part of? Jonathan's eyes lit up with something that looked like hope. This could be the first step toward a connection neither of them had anticipated, but the journey was far from over. What lay ahead in the shadows of their unshared pasts? Jonathan leaned forward, his expression brightening as if she opened a door he long waited to enter. Absolutely, he replied, his voice steadying the air between them. It's a long story, but I think it's worth sharing. Emily nodded, her heart racing. She wanted to know everything about his life, his choices, and the father who had missed out on all those years. Would her mother's stories about love and sacrifice be confirmed, or would Jonathan's narrative reshape what she thought she knew? Let us see, he started, glancing around the restaurant as if trying to gather his thoughts. I grew up in a pretty normal family. There was a hint of uncertainty in his voice, a veil of past pain. Normal isn't always what it seems, right? Emily added softly, wanting to reassure him. Jonathan smiled wryly, easing into the conversation. Right. My parents divorced when I was young. My mom raised me alone, and she worked hard like your mom. I saw her struggle with bills and juggling jobs. When I was in high school, I took afternoon shifts at a grocery store to help out. I remember feeling that pressure to make money in any way I could. His words resonated, peeling back layers she hadn't expected to share. I get that, Emily said. It gives you a sense of responsibility. But how did you break through? His gaze turned serious again, revealing a depth she hadn't yet witnessed. I was lucky. I got a scholarship to a good college. It was a turning point for me. He paused, swallowing hard. But that luck came with its own weight. I didn't know who I was, just a kid trying to prove I belonged there. I can understand that. It's like everyone's measuring you against their expectations, she said, the words tumbling out as she felt safe in his vulnerability. We're always trying to fit into some mold. Jonathan nodded, relief washing over him as if she had unlocked a part of him he hadn't dared to express before. After college, I worked really hard. I climbed the corporate ladder, thinking success would fill the void. But honestly, it felt hollow a lot of the time. Did you ever think about your dad? The question slipped from Emily's lips. It felt audacious, yet necessary. Jonathan's expression darkened, the light in his eyes dimming. It's complicated. I always wanted a relationship with him, but after the divorce, he kind of disappeared. I tracked him down a few years ago, but I was so angry when I finally met him. He was not what I imagined. Emily could see the rush of emotion rushing through Jonathan. And it's okay to feel that way. She gently reached out, her hand brushing against his. You weren't meant to carry that alone. The warmth of her touch lingered, and Jonathan's gaze softened as their fingers grazed. The air between them seemed to shimmer with unspoken possibilities. Thank you, Emily. It feels good to share this with someone who understands. A waitress passed by, her presence jolting them from their intimacy. Emily felt pressure building in her chest, the moment felt too charged for the outside world. She wanted to peel back more of Jonathan's layers, to discover the man behind the walls built from heartbreak. But what about you? Jonathan turned the conversation back, his voice a soft inquiry that carried curiosity and sincerity. I want to know what shaped you. Before she could respond, her phone buzzed again, and a knot twisted in her stomach. It was another text from her mother, demanding to know why she was running late. Ugh, Emily muttered, frustrated. I thought things might calm down, but I guess I can't escape my mama's radar. Jonathan's brow furrowed with concern. Is everything okay? She hesitated, torn between the urgency of the text and the comfort of the connection blossoming across the table. Would sharing the depth of her struggle help bridge the gap that stretched between her fears of family obligations and her desire for something deeper with Jonathan? As her finger hovered over the screen, she felt the boundary between old loyalties and newfound feelings tightening. Can it wait? Jonathan urged gently, leaning closer with that, the weight of choice began to press down hard again. Maybe, she whispered, a blend of hope and fear swirling inside her. But in that moment of pause, a door opened to countless directions. Was it possible to invite Jonathan into her world while holding on to the roots that also defined her? Could this be the leap of faith they both needed? The answers lay hidden in the next choice she would make. Would she delve into her own history, or was she meant to act only as a bridge between her old life and the thrilling uncertainty of a new beginning? She looked back at Jonathan, feeling drawn in by his earnest gaze. How could she hold on to both her mother's love and this unexpected spark with a man who represented the unknown? The tension built, every heartbeat echoing a silent question: what would she choose? Emily's heart pounded in her chest, the weight of Jonathan's gaze anchoring her in that moment. She could sense the threads of their stories intertwining, each pulling them closer while simultaneously tugging at the fabric of her old life. As her mind raced, uncertainty clouded her thoughts. Could she tell Jonathan about her mom? About the sacrifices that shaped her? Would he understand the strain that faced her? Her phone buzzed again, this time a new wave of frustration surging through her. Ignoring it felt impossible, a rebellion against the obligations that defined her. I shouldn't even be here, she murmured, half to herself. What do you mean? Jonathan asked, his brow furrowing further, a shadow of concern passing over his features. She was torn, hovering at the precipice of vulnerability yet yearning to leap into trust. I mean, my mom is counting on me. She expects so much. The words came tumbling out like the knots in her heart. It's complicated. Jonathan's expression softened, compassion etched into his features. He leaned closer, his eyes searching hers, as if seeking to understand the tangled emotions behind her words. Complicated can be okay, you know. We all have our own battles. A warm flush rose in her cheeks as she felt the sincerity in his voice. How was he so different from the men she had encountered before? There was a quiet strength in him, tempered with kindness, a combination that made her heart thrill and ache all at once. I want to be there for her, but I also want to find my own path, Emily confessed, fearing the truth behind the words would shatter something precious between them. You deserve both, Emily, he urged, his tone earnest. You owe it to yourself to explore what you want to. She bit her lip, glancing into Jonathan's eyes. And what if that means leaving behind my responsibilities? Sometimes, the best way to take care of those we love is to be honest about our own needs. His voice wrapped around her like a lifeline, strong and unwavering. For the first time, the idea seemed possible. What if she could pursue her ambitions while still honoring her mom? The thought ignited a flicker of hope. But just as quickly, doubt crept back in. Would her mom even understand? Or would she see it as betrayal? The cycle of uncertainty swirled in her mind as if the very air around them crackled with the tension of choices unmade. Can you imagine what it would be like to really pursue your dreams? Jonathan's words was like a gentle nudge, pushing her imagination to new heights. You could break free from that invisible anchor. Maybe, she said slowly, each word edged with the possibility of change. Just the thought sent warmth radiating through her. She hadn't dared to dream of it before. The waitress returned, offering a distraction. Can I get you anything else? Neither of them heard her, lost in the orbit of their conversation. Silence stretched, a moment of clarity punctured only by the persistent hum of the restaurant. What if we just took this one day at a time? Jonathan asked when the waitress finally retreated, his eyes hopeful. Emily nodded, a tentative smile breaking open the clouds of her turmoil. One day at a time, that sounds nice. But somewhere deep, a lingering question still gnawed at her. Would she have the courage to embrace that philosophy? Would it be enough to shift the direction of her life when faced with her mother's expectations? As they sat there, time felt suspended. Outside, the world continued turning, unaware of the subtle transformation blossoming in that little corner of the restaurant. But in that moment, the spark of possibility ignited, feeding the very air around them. Then her phone buzzed again, this time with an insistent tone. Emily's heart sank, the nagging weight of reality pressing down like an anchor. She glanced at the screen, dread pooling in her stomach. The text read simply, "Where are you? You know how I feel about you being late." Emily took a deep breath, staring into Jonathan's eyes, a mix of fear and determination surging in her veins. She realized she stood at a crossroads, where love and loyalty collided. Jonathan, she began, her voice steadying with the weight of her choice. I think I need to tell you more about my life. As the words hung in the air, she could feel everything shifting. But would it bring her closer to the woman she longed to be or pull her back into the shadows of what was expected? And that uncertainty loomed larger as the tension thickened between them. What would revelation bring? Emily's breath caught in her throat. The words felt heavy on her tongue, steeped in fear and hope. Jonathan's eyes watched her intently, the warmth in them urging her to speak. She swallowed hard, grasping for the courage that had begun to bloom just moments before. About my mom, she began, her voice trembling slightly but gaining strength with every word. She has had a rough time since my dad left. We've been living in a tight spot, and I'm trying to take care of her the best I can. I'm scared that wanting something for myself will make it harder for her. Jonathan nodded, a gentle understanding in his gaze, as if he had stitched together the pieces of her struggle already. That's a lot to carry alone, he murmured. That's why I hesitated, she continued, urgency bubbling beneath her calm exterior. I've spent so much time focusing on her needs that I forgot what I wanted. I don't even know what that would look like. It feels selfish. Wanting something for yourself isn't selfish, Emily. His voice was steady, his sincerity stretching across the table like an invisible bridge. It's essential. You can't pour from an empty cup. His reassurance touched her heart in a way that felt both foreign and familiar. Tears prickled at the corners of her eyes, a mixture of gratitude and release. Jonathan's understanding opened a door within her, a peek into a life where she could be both the daughter her mother needed and the woman she longed to become. The restaurant buzzed around them, but in their little bubble, time's grip seemed to loosen. Emily dared to dream of a future where her passions didn't sit at odds with her responsibilities. She felt like a tight bud slowly beginning to unfurl. Do you really think it's possible for me to balance both? I know it's possible. You just need to take that first step, Jonathan replied. What do you love? What makes your heart race? The question hung in the air, and Emily found herself caught off guard. I used to love painting, it was my escape. A smile bloomed involuntarily at the memory. But I haven't picked up a brush in years. Then paint. His enthusiasm was infectious. Maybe the first step is to set aside an hour a week. Just for you? Reclaim that part of yourself. She felt warmth seep into her chest at the idea, like sunlight breaking through a dense cloud. But what if my mom doesn't understand? She might think I'm being irresponsible. Communication is key, he urged. Talk to her. Share your dreams. You might be surprised by her reaction. Maybe she'll see it as a chance to support you. As Jonathan spoke, her phone buzzed again, an unwelcome reminder of the life she was trying to navigate. A text from her mom, "Are you almost home? We need to talk." Panic surged in her veins, but she forced herself to breathe. I can't keep avoiding her, but I also can't keep pretending either. Then go and talk, Jonathan said softly, his eyes never leaving hers. But remember, you have a right to your desires. Your mother loves you, and true love understands. Emily's heart raced at the thought. Could she really tell her mother about her dreams? The potential for conflict loomed large, but so did the possibility of understanding. Thank you for being here, for listening, she murmured, feeling a swell of emotion. Always, he replied, his gaze unwavering. With a last lingering glance, she knew she had to leave. But as she stood to go, Jonathan reached for her hand, his grip steady and reassuring. Remember, Emily. One day at a time. Just take that leap. As she stepped into the world outside the restaurant, a mix of hope and trepidation surged within her. Would she find the courage to change her story? With her heart pounding and her thoughts racing, she knew that her next conversation with her mother would determine everything, and for the first time, she felt ready to face whatever came next, even as uncertainty loomed like an old shadow behind her. Would it bring acceptance, or push her further into a corner? As she walked toward her car, determination ignited a fire within her. She was ready to write a new chapter, but what if? It also meant facing old fears that threatened to hold her back? The soft hum of the night enveloped Emily as she made her way to her car. The bright lights of the parking lot felt like stars, twinkling hope against the backdrop of her worries. She could still hear Jonathan's voice echoing in her mind, urging her on. It was a strange comfort, like a tether pulling her toward the possibilities she had just begun to consider. As she climbed into her car, she caught her reflection in the rearview mirror. There was something different about her gaze, more defiant, more alive. She took a deep breath, her thoughts dancing between excitement and anxiety. What would she even say to her mother? Would it come spilling out like word vomit, or would she find the right way to express herself? The drive home felt longer than usual, each turn amplifying the thunderous beat of her heart. She turned the radio on, hoping for a distraction, but the music barely registered. Instead, her thoughts swirled. Would her mom feel abandoned if she pursued painting? What if the conversation spiraled into an argument? Emily clenched the steering wheel, every creak and groan of the car amplifying her tension. When she reached home, the house loomed like a fortress, each window dark as if it too held its breath waiting for her return. Pushing the door open, she was greeted by the familiar, warm scent of vanilla that lingered in the air. Her mom must have been baking again, a sweet attempt to soothe whatever unease had settled between them. Emily? Is that you? Her mother called from the kitchen. "Yeah, Mom," she replied, stepping inside. The urge to run away was powerful, but she shook it off. "I'm here." Her mother appeared in the doorway, flour dusting her apron and a worried look etched across her face. "We need to talk. I texted you. I was getting worried." Emily could see the concern in her eyes, a mirror to her own. "I know. I'm sorry. I needed some time to think." "About what?" Her mother's voice softened, the stern edge fading. Here it was. The moment hung in the air like an unspoken promise. Emily took a deep breath, willing herself to be honest. "About me and what I want. I feel like I've been focused on you so much that I forgot about who I am." Her mother's brow furrowed, confusion etching deeper lines around her eyes. "What do you mean?" "I want to paint again," Emily blurted, the words tumbling out faster than she could control. "I used to love it, Mom. It made me happy. But I haven't touched a brush in years because I thought you needed me more." Silence wrapped around them, thick and heavy. Emily's heart pounded so loud it felt like it could shatter the quiet. She searched her mother's face, desperately hoping for understanding instead of disappointment. Finally, her mother spoke, her voice trembling slightly. "Emily, you have every right to pursue what makes you happy." A wave of relief washed over Emily, turning her insides into a warm glow. "You really think so?" "I do. But I worry. I just want to make sure you're safe and taken care of." There was a vulnerability in her mother's expression that surprised Emily. "I guess I've been so focused on my fears that I didn't see how hard you've been trying." Tears threatened to spill from Emily's eyes, but she blinked them away. The understanding that began to blossom between them felt like a bridge built anew. "I need you to see that when I'm happy, I can be there for you better too." The kitchen suddenly didn't feel so big, nor did their struggles seem insurmountable. In that moment, they were two women, standing on the brink of understanding, ready to lift each other up, but just as hope surged within her, her phone buzzed again. It was another text, this time from Jonathan. "Hey. Thinking of you. How did it go with your mom?" Suddenly, the situation felt more daunting again. Would her mom's acceptance lead to her own desires finally being set free? Emily's heart raced at the thought. Was this really the kind of change she had been longing for? Or was it simply the beginning of a complicated journey ahead? There was only one way to find out. Emily stared at her phone, the screen lighting up her face with Jonathan's message. Her heart fluttered, a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Should she share her progress with him? "Hey. It went well." "Really well," she typed, hesitating as she contemplated sending it. What if he read between the lines? What if he thought it meant something more? She hit send and felt a rush of vulnerability. Seconds later, her phone buzzed again. "What do you mean? Are you okay?" "Spill it." Laughter bubbled in her chest. Jonathan's enthusiasm was infectious. "I'm just," Emily began, then stopped. "Figuring it all out. I told her I wanted to paint again." Did she freak out? "I mean, that's huge." She grinned, the heaviness in her chest lifting at his delight. No, she didn't. She was surprisingly supportive. There was a moment of silence on the other end before Jonathan replied. "That's amazing. I knew you could do it." Emily leaned back against the kitchen counter, savoring the warmth of his words. Perhaps this was the start of something genuine. Her mom had reacted better than she anticipated, but still, a part of her felt uncertain. What if this support was temporary? What if her pursuit of her own passion came with unexpected consequences? Don't forget to actually get your brushes out, though. It won't paint itself. His playful reminder made her chuckle. "Yeah, I will," she assured him, feeling the buoyancy of hope fill the room. "I promise." After a few more exchanged messages, Emily put her phone down, her heart still racing. She glanced out the window at the darkened street, illuminated only by a glowing street lamp. Tonight felt different, the air was charged with potential. "Are you okay, sweetie?" Her mother's voice broke through her thoughts, gentle but cautious. She turned to find her mom leaning against the doorway once more, flowers still dusting her apron like stars on a night sky. "I'm good, I think. Just a lot to process." Her mom stepped further into the kitchen, her brow still slightly furrowed. "I'm really proud of you, Emily. I hope you know that. Painting is such a beautiful form of expression. I want you to chase that." Emily felt warmth flood her cheeks. "Thank you, Mom. It feels good to say it out loud." Her mom's eyes sparkled with something like hope too. "I'd love to see what you create. You don't have to hide it from me anymore." Just as Emily opened her mouth to respond, the kitchen door swung open. There stood her younger brother, Danny, with his skateboard under one arm and a curious frown etched across his face. "Whoa! You're not arguing or anything, are you?" His youthful innocence forced a smile onto her face. "No, silly. We're actually having a great talk," Emily reassured him while her mom chuckled lightly. "Good, because you should paint me doing this awesome kickflip." He demonstrated a clumsy but enthusiastic move, causing both Emily and her mom to laugh. Just then, the laughter faded slightly. Emily's mind wandered into the worries that still lingered, like shadows at the edges of her newfound courage. Would she really go through with painting again? Would it change their dynamics? "Let me think about it," she replied to Danny, uncertainty creeping back in. Walking out of the kitchen with her brother, Emily felt the uncertainty coiling in her stomach again, battling her excitement and resolve. "Hey, Em." Danny called as they moved into the living room. "You should paint me as a superhero. You can start tomorrow, okay?" His innocence struck a chord in her heart. Maybe it was possible for her to dive back into what she loved. What if the journey held surprising gifts she had yet to uncover? As Emily sank into the couch, a wave of determination washed over her. She needed to embrace this moment. Maybe it was not just about her passion but about healing and bringing her family closer. Jonathan's voice flickered back into her mind. "You got this," he had said. But did she? With a new text alert chiming from her phone, Emily's heart raced once more. "Are you ready to top the canvases tomorrow?" She smiled at the challenge. "Yes, because tomorrow might be the day everything changes." A sense of thrill nestled inside her, teasing her with potential. But just as she lifted her phone to respond, another thought struck her. What if Jonathan was more involved in her journey than she ever expected? And as if answering her question, she typed back, "Let us see where this leads us." The night brimmed with possibility, holding its breath, waiting to reveal the twists that lay ahead. The morning sun streamed through Emily's bedroom window, casting a gentle glow that stirred her awake. She stretched and felt the familiar flutter of anticipation in her stomach. Today was the day. It felt like a turning point. Though apprehension nibbled at her, she was determined to push through. With a cup of coffee in one hand and her phone in the other, she settled at her small kitchen table, her heart racing with excitement. She had spent the previous night dreaming of bright colors splashed across a canvas, catching her breath at how alive it made her feel. Her phone buzzed again. Jonathan's name appeared across the screen like a spark of reassurance. "Ready for a masterpiece?" he had texted. Emily smiled widely. The bond forming between them, nourished by shared dreams and gentle nudges, began to feel like an anchor she didn't know she needed. "Absolutely. I can't wait to dive in." She finished her coffee, the rich flavor fueling her resolve, and let her thoughts drift away from the worries that clamored for attention in her mind. Instead, she replaced them with envisioning her first strokes on the canvas, pouring out everything she had stored inside. After a quick breakfast, Emily gathered her art supplies: brushes, paints, and canvases. The familiar scents filled the air, a heady mix of paint and creativity, like a mixture of potential and possibility. She felt her pulse quicken. As she made her way to the small corner of her home that would become her creative space, Danny shuffled in behind her, his eyes lighting up at the sight of the mess transforming into an art studio. "Wow, Em. This is like an art factory," he exclaimed, his enthusiasm contagious. Emily laughed, feeling lighter than she had in days. I guess it kind of is. Want to help me pick colors? Can we use the super bright ones? He asked eagerly. Of course. You can choose anything you want. As they rummaged through the paint, Emily felt Danny's excitement bubbling over like a fizzy soda, adding layers of joy to her experience. Here he was, her little brother, not just asking to be painted as a superhero but wanting to be a part of her journey. Can I be the superhero who saves the world with his skateboard? He added with a serious nod, puffing out his chest. Definitely. The world needs a hero like you, she replied, her heart swelling. The moment was precious and a glimpse of the closeness she craved. With all the supplies set up, Emily took a deep breath and let her stiffness melt away. The canvas stood tall before her, blank but vibrating with promise, begging to tell a story. Squeezing paint onto her palette, she dipped one brush into the vibrant colors and cautiously made her first stroke. Her mind fully engaged, she lost track of time. Each stroke removed a piece of the uncertainty that had been coiling tightly around her heart for too long. Hours passed, and Emily found herself moving freely, her spirits soaring with each splash of paint. As the image of Danny on his skateboard started to take shape, she could feel something shifting within her. Shadows of doubt began to fade, replaced by something far more powerful, happiness. Suddenly, a soft knock at the door broke her concentration. It was her mom, peeking in with a tender smile. Emily? Do I sense a masterpiece in the making? Emily blushed, a little shy at the sudden attention. I'm trying. But it feels good, Mom, really good. Her mom stepped inside, glancing at the colorful chaos surrounding them. She seemed genuinely moved. It looks like you found your spark again. I think I have, Emily replied, her heart swelling with pride. After a moment of light-hearted conversation, her mom suggested they take a break for lunch. As they sat together, sharing simple food and laughter, Emily felt a warmth that transcended her fears. This was what family felt like: supportive, encouraging, and bursting with love. Yet as the day rolled on, a nagging question lingered at the back of her mind. What about Jonathan? What role would he play in this new chapter? As she gazed at her unfinished painting, a new message from Jonathan pinged on her phone. How's it going? I can't wait to see the superhero. A smile crept across her face, but also a twinge of uncertainty. What if this connection deepened? Would she be ready for it? With a sigh, Emily began typing back. It's coming along. Can't wait to show you. I think this journey has just begun. And with that thought, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was just a prelude to something even bigger. Would she have the courage to embrace it all? Would she truly fly with her newfound wings? The questions lingered in the air as she prepared for what was about to unfold. Emily found herself back at her canvas, the afternoon light stretching across the room like a comforting blanket. The colors she had chosen danced under her brush, each swipe revealing more of Danny's superhero persona. In those moments, she let herself get lost in the process, the way the paint mingled, the smells that surrounded her, and the laughter that echoed from her brother's imaginative tales filled her with an unexpected kind of joy. The door creaked open, and Danny tiptoed in, half hidden behind a piece of cardboard he had fashioned into a makeshift cape. I'm ready to save the world, he declared, striking a pose. Perfect timing. Emily laughed, stepping back to admire her work. A brave hero needs a great backdrop. Come help me. Danny dashed to her side, his enthusiasm spilling over. Together, they painted bursts of radiant colors, the sun setting in brilliant oranges and purples, the clouds a soft pink. They were creating a world where anything was possible, where dreams had no boundaries. Halfway through the fun, Emily's phone buzzed again, jolting her concentration. Jonathan's name lit up the screen once more, joining the warmth surrounding her like a sunbeam breaking through clouds. How about a surprise later? He texted. Her heart fluttered. Was it too soon? Emily bit her lip, glancing over at Danny, who was deep in concentration, mixing colors like a miniature Picasso. She couldn't understand why, but the thought of spending time with Jonathan ignited a spark of both excitement and fear. Danny, what do you think about a surprise visit from my friend? She asked, tilting her head. Can he be my sidekick? Danny replied between brush strokes. Emily laughed. I think we can arrange that. And just like that, a plan began to take form, a spontaneous gathering that could blissfully bridge the gap between her art and her new friendship. As they painted, Emily felt her earlier doubts lifting like fog under the embrace of the sun. Everything felt right. She couldn't remember the last time she had looked forward to something so much, and slowly she began to wonder if she was ready to let someone else into her world. Later that evening, as she prepared for Jonathan's arrival, butterflies stirred in her stomach. What would he think of her art? Would he embrace the vibrant chaos of her creativity or run away from it? Emily chose a simple outfit, jeans and a colorful top, the air filled with nervous energy. The doorbell rang, and the sound sent a jolt through her. She glanced at Danny, who grinned widely, his cape flapping behind him as he hurried to answer the door. Hey, superhero, Jonathan said with a twinkle in his eye as he stepped inside. Hi, Emily responded, heart racing. The warmth of their shared smile enveloped her. Jonathan was just as she remembered, relaxed yet charming, with a hint of mischief in his voice that made her hold her breath in anticipation. I brought something for you, he said, pulling a small wrapped canvas from behind his back. Emily's heart skipped a beat. What's this? Since you're working on masterpieces, I thought maybe I could inspire you too. Opening the package, she uncovered a beautiful landscape painting, filled with colors that mirrored her own. This is stunning. Not as stunning as your superhero, Jonathan teased, glancing over at Danny, who appeared both shy and proud. Without thinking, Emily whispered, Thank you, Jonathan. You have no idea what this means to me. They quickly slipped into a comfortable conversation, laughter punctuating the silence of the room. As they exchanged stories, each moment seemed to weave a new thread into the fabric of their budding connection, one that felt easy yet significant. But as the night progressed, Emily couldn't shake the realization that this was more than just a playful evening. It was a leap, perhaps into something deeper, something uncharted. Just as Emily was starting to feel the warmth of possibility wrap around her, Jonathan turned serious for a moment. I've really enjoyed this evening, Em. There's something special here between us. The moment hung in the air, and Emily's breath caught in her throat. 1,000 thoughts raced through her mind. What if this was the beginning of a plunge into deeper waters? Could she navigate this unexpected current with grace? Thanks. I'm glad you're here, she managed to say, her voice steadier than her heart, but in the back of her mind, the voice returned. Did she have what it took to embrace this connection fully? As the laughter faded into shared glances, a new tension crackled in the air. The evening held secrets, and she could feel the swirling tide of emotions pushing her toward a choice. Would she step forward or hold back? The decision loomed, and Emily knew this was just the calm before an emotional storm. As the golden hour melted into evening, Emily picked up a brush again, her heart full yet tumultuous. The lively banter with Jonathan and Danny filled the air, but within her, doubt swirled like paint on the canvas. Could she really embrace this connection with Jonathan? It felt like opening a door she had kept tightly shut for years. With each stroke on the canvas, she let the colors reflect her emotions, vibrant blends of joy and fear, the promise of a future dancing just out of reach. Imagining her superhero brother leaping through the air, she allowed her brush to guide her thoughts, capturing a moment of pure bliss that seemed so real. Danny's laughter broke through her concentration, pulling her away from the swirling colors. Can we paint a giant rainbow now? He interjected, eyes sparkling. Absolutely, she replied, suddenly feeling a surge of enthusiasm. The creativity around them flowed like water, a cascade of ideas blending together. With Jonathan leaning against the wall, looking genuinely impressed, Emily felt a flicker of pride rise within her. It sparked a whisper of possibility. Could this be a new chapter, full of love and acceptance? As the night wore on, Jonathan joined in on their painting, his hands smeared with color as he playfully helped Danny imagine wild backdrops for his superhero antics. Emily watched with a smile as they collaborated, a little family in the making. Yet, just when warmth filled the room, a whisper of reality interrupted her, tossing icy cold water on her thoughts. How could you even think of being with someone like him? Echoed in her heart, the voice dragging the familiar burdens of loyalty and fear back to the surface. Are you ready to take those risks? Jonathan's voice broke through her reverie, suddenly serious, slicing through the delicious tension that had settled between them. The words hung heavily in the air. Did she want to take that leap towards something greater? Her cheeks flushed as she met his gaze, knowing this moment might shape the rest of their story. Am I? She whispered, her heart racing at the thought. A flash of bravery ignited. I don't know what comes next, but maybe she inhaled deeply, feeling like she was swimming against a current. Maybe I want to try. The corners of Jonathan's lips lifted into a soft smile, and in that moment, Emily realized it was possible. She could embrace her dreams in this new connection. A rush of excitement filled her chest, warming her from within. Good, Jonathan replied, his eyes steady and shining with encouragement. That's all it takes, one step at a time. We'll figure it out together. His words wrapped around her like a comforting blanket. In that instant, she could see herself doing just that, daring to reach for both her art and the love that flickered between them like an endlessly glowing flame. Every ounce of her longing to connect with Jonathan felt palpable, urging her to dive deeper. The laughter between them began to calm down, and the room thrummed with shared energy that buzzed like electric currents. This wasn't just about him, it was about her own transformation, and for the first time, she truly wanted to embrace both worlds, the one built from struggles and the one being painted anew with vibrant colors of hope. What if we could be each other's inspiration? Emily suggested, her heart thumping in rhythm with the newfound clarity in her intention. I'd love to show you my pieces when I finish. Maybe we can help each other pursue our dreams. Jonathan's eyes lit up again, and something tender flickered in their depths as he replied, I'd love that. And just like that, the room seemed to shimmer, the air thickening with promise. It felt alive, as if every light and shadow swirling around them cheered her on. She was no longer just the girl carrying the weight of expectations, she was a painter of her own story now. As the night wore on, filled with laughter and growing intimacy, Emily felt a shift, a warm and gentle acceptance of both herself and this new possibility of love. A serene realization washed over her. She had the power to shape this journey, where art, family, and newfound connections intermingled in a beautiful dance. No matter what happens, she thought as she shared playful whispers with Jonathan and Danny. I'll take it all, each brushstroke matters. And as the evening progressed, she understood this was just the beginning of a new adventure, one with the potential to redefine her life entirely. In that moment, filled with light and color, Emily chose to embrace both the future and her past. This was her masterpiece, waiting to unfold, and there was finally no turning back. With Jonathan by her side, she felt courage blossom in a way that felt undeniable. Finally, their paths intertwined, ready to paint a future filled with all the colors of hope and love. As the night deepened, she knew this was it, her moment of transformation had arrived. You need to subscribe now to catch the end of this journey and be part of the story unfolding. This is the moment to show your support for our channel. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this incredible transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show that you loved the journey. Comment below with your thoughts and emotions about this powerful conclusion.